Yeah, correct. Let's correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, this
Okay, for the purposes of the public listening, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna accept the motion to postpone the committee of the whole council meeting, so we can move on to the FCS board of director meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, all in favor of postponing our board meeting, please, vote. Okay, all opposed? The meeting's postponed. And now I believe we can start the FCSS Board of Directors annual meeting. And I would like to call this meeting to order. Would you like me to reread the acknowledgement? Okay. The town of Hinton respectfully acknowledges that it's located on the First Peoples traditional lands. We recognize this traditional territory to show respect and understanding to those who walk this land since time immemorial. Today, we uphold the ongoing responsibility to work together in the spirit of the intent of the treaty with all the First Peoples and nations that call this place home. The town expresses gratitude for the opportunity to build a better community on this sacred land for generations to come. And with that, I call to order the March 14th FCSS Board of Directors meeting. And I asked for any changes or additions to the agenda. No changes or additions to the agenda. So could I have a motion to accept the agenda? Councilor Reese.
Thank you, sir. I move that we adopt the agenda for FCSS Board of Directors annual meeting, March 14th, 2023.
Okay, all in favor of accepting the board of directors of the agenda? All opposed? Okay, the agenda is accepted. With that, we go into the program updates and we start with number 1, which is the FCSS program updates. Can you sit at the end of the table so we can see you better than mine?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Thank you.
Cory, did you want to come serve beside me? She
Oh,
going, Cory said also helping me present.
There, now.
Good. Yeah,
Excellent, thank you.
yeah. Then I'm just clicking here and it's gonna take you to the next slide, right? Okay, go.
Just let me know when you want your video.
Okay.
Ready for your video.
Sounds good. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So for the updates, I will be speaking to 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, and 3.5 in the presentation. And then I will end it with a video and then questions. Okay. So this evening, we're going to talk about, of course, family and community support services. And I just wanted to take a little bit of time to share with you what family and community support services do. We develop locally driven prevention-based social initiatives to enhance the well-being of individuals, families, and communities. And you'll see on the next slide that when we had our restructure in 2020, that's kind of how we did our restructure. We focused on the individuals, families, and communities, and then we actually within that restructure, that's where you'll see our FCSS coordinators, the community connections, the individual supports, and then the family life coordinator. So that was kind of our overall vision. The 5 FCSS pillars that guide us to do our prevention work. I'll just spend a little bit more time reading these through, just because they are the foundation of the work that we do. So number 1, helping people develop independence, strengthen coping skills, and become more resistant to crisis. Number 2, building awareness of social needs. Number 3, supporting people in developing skills to have healthy relationships with others. Number 4, helping individuals and communities assume responsibility for decisions and actions that affect them. And number 5, providing supports to help people participate in the community. So Hinton FCSS has actually been servicing the community for over 40 years. And of course, these 5 pillars are done in partnerships with other nonprofit groups, sometimes solely direct supports from FCSS staff specific. And so, like I was saying before, when we did our restructure in 2020, myself actually and Jenna Altragi, the past FCSS assistant manager, we kind of created, started with, of course, the Hinton branch, and then we branched off to individuals, community services, and then focused on the child, youth, and families. And then we kind of just branched off there, and looked at our services. And so then here is our current FCSS team. There are some new faces that came June. So one being our Hinton Kids for Success Discovery Camp Supervisor, which is Eliza Knopka. She came to us from the education system and wanted a bit of a change in pace and a different career. And yeah, she transitioned quite nicely into our department. And then our newest staff member is Trish Leduc. She took the FCSS coordinator, the family life coordinator, and she picked up from Leduc and moved to Hinton. All on her lonesome. So, and she's fitting in quite nicely into the community and is quite enjoying it. And then of course I'll start from the beginning there. So myself, FCSS manager, Tori, FCSS assistant manager, Randy Smith, our individual supports coordinator. I already spoke about Trish. Lisa Brett, our community connections coordinator. James Everett, our youth center coordinator. Jackie Dells, our FRN education caregiver coordinator. So to Eliza Margot Cedillo, our Hinton Kids for Success Discovery Camp coordinator. She is actually taking over currently in a maternity leave position. Cassandra Watson was in that position. And then Brooke Alden, our administrative assistant. And so there's obviously more staffing within our department, so we'll delve into that here shortly. So then we'll branch into our service areas. So I spoke to earlier about the restructure in 2020, and so the change in Randy Smith's portfolio was individual support. So we created the individual supports coordinator, and so we actually put in link ages. We added friendly visitor program. He received the community volunteer income tax program, our home support, lifeline, compass for the caregiver, and then our seniors week too. So he also we have some grants too that we applied for, the New Horizons grant. And so me and him work on those projects together. I do the financial budget piece, support him, and then he works with the seniors working groups. And then the next coordinator, FCSS coordinator, which is our family life coordinator, services for families. So this is actually a new, when we did our restructure, what we did is we saw a gap in the community, an opportunity to create a stronger partnership with the Hinton Friendship Center, help the domestic violence action group is where we are now playing a larger role in. And so FCSS, Hinton Friendship Center, Help, Alberta Health Services, more of a regional role we're playing, because a lot of these groups were coming together. So we actually combined all of our abuse prevention regional groups and meet 4 times a year. Also under Church's portfolio is the family education, family events, the Rural Mental Health Project. She just got trained as an animator in the community, and then the registration and information fair. So the family education and the family events, you kind of will probably start to saw at the start of this year our Hawaiian dance and healthy relationships with your adult children. And then our third coordinator, which is the community connections coordinator, is the services for the community. So that's Lisa runs our interagency meetings, volunteer services, nonprofit support, our neighborhood block party, our Hello Hinton program, and then of course the Hinton Family Center. So we just wanted to share a few highlights of the 22 program highlights. So for services for individuals, Seniors Week was another huge success in 2022. We had 27 events and 1,858 participants. An annual record of 8 seniors being nominated for the Lifetime Achievement Award as well, and Bill Bulger was the recipient. Randy has also been busy in 2022 supporting individuals with government application. We saw a huge gap when Alberta Supports closed their doors and were taking calls over the phone, and a lot of those clients don't have cell phones, just don't know how to navigate the internet. So we saw a lot of those individuals coming through our doors. And then of course we received our second year in a row in 2022, the New Horizons grant of $25,000, the GoGo bus tours. And yeah, those have been actually very, very great. We completed 3 tours in 2022. And our last tour, we actually took the seniors on the Beaupré bus. And it was wonderful to see because there was actually seniors from rural that came, a couple from Catamount. And so it's nice when we're able to have seniors that don't know anyone and are building relationships with seniors in Hinton.
Can we ask questions?
Sure.
Like GoGo bus, like you take them where, or what is that?
Yeah, so the project name is the GoGo Tours. So within our application, we put funding for transportation. And so those funds, we plan the group. So the seniors working group meets with myself and Randy, and they are the ones, the seniors plan the tour. And so it ranges from about 5 to 8 seniors. And we funnel it to about a 250 senior contact list. And then we also promote the event through our social media channels. But the GoGo Tours is the project name, but they go outside of the community on tours. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And again, the goal of this project was to build social connection, rebuild of social connection, rebuild of relationships, and just a sense of community that the seniors were sharing with us that was lost during COVID there.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, shifting over to services for families. So that's our family life. Another gap that was brought to us, we actually had Hinton Employment Learning Place that shared with us that they were not able to do the Codes for Kids campaigns by themselves. So FCSS partnered with them, and Trish took that under her portfolio, and we were able to deliver it in 2022 and plans for 2023. It's not right. Neighbors, friends, and families for older adults presentation were held in November by Trish, the Duke. So we had those in Hinton, Edson, Yellowhead County. Out of one presentation, we had 4 new referrals. So with education awareness, that of course comes with referrals. Sometimes, unfortunately, but just acknowledging that we need to be prepared for that when we do that education. And then lastly, Trish and myself submitted a New Horizons grant application for the 2023 in partnership with the Hinton RCMP and Victim Services. The project name is Protect Your Assets, and we were actually successful in that application. But I will speak to that a little bit down the road in 2023 initiatives. And then services for community, the Hello Hinton program launched in the fall to welcome newcomers in the community. Again, we added a transportation component. So individual newcomers in the community can book a meeting with Lisa, and then depending on what their needs are, we guide them, share with them all of the resources in the community, and then they are offered a tour of Hinton, and then depending on how much time is booked, we kind of like to show them a few gems in and around Hinton. And then the Rural Doctor Program actually contacted us, and Lisa was able to meet with the rural doctors in Hinton. That was actually one of the first clients of the program. And also, just a note with our rural renewal program, we're seeing the individuals that are being endorsed into the community through the rural renewal stream program are accessing our Hello Hinton program. Lisa has met with about three individuals so far. And then, of course, we always celebrate the National Volunteer Week. We put in a grant application for $500 every year. And what we did last year is we purchased a bench in honor of our dedicated volunteers, and we do a news release as well. And then something that we always like to note and share is how many nonprofits we were able to support and connect with in 2022. 2021 was a bit slower. We supported 12 nonprofits, and in 2022 we supported 31. So we just like to note that. I want to also note that Lisa was working or is still working quite closely with Hinton Parents for Play. They were struggling quite a bit coming out of COVID, and she's been meeting with them to talk about roles and responsibilities within a board, and they were able to kind of reignite and get their feet off the ground. And I'm sure many of you have saw where things are at with them. They're at a good place. They've found a space, and their volunteers within their board are dedicated, and so it's been positive. And on that note, I will hand it over to Cory to talk about the child and youth programs.
Thank you. So within the child and youth programs, we've broken it down into services for parents, services for teens, and services for children. The services for parents also includes families as a whole. We do a lot of work with the families, and that is funded through a grant, the Family Resource Network grant through the government of Alberta. So Jackie, who is our caregiver education coordinator, provides a lot of one-to-one support, does the ages and stages questionnaires, runs all of the monthly groups, a lot of outings to Pine Valley. We're starting that partnership, Mothers First, a lot of partnerships with the library coming up. So we've seen a huge intake in parents and caregivers accessing her services. And then when we go to the children specifically, we have, like Karen mentioned, we have Eliza, who joined us from the education system last year with Kids for Success and Discovery Camp. Those are our two biggest programs for children. We do the out of school care program. So every day after school, and then every day the teachers have off, we open for a full day. And then obviously Discovery Camp in the summer is all day, every day for 8 weeks. So she works closely with Margot, who is our coordinator, and we've actually seen such an increase in enrollment that we've actually increased our coordinators' hours from what they were last year. And then James is our youth center coordinator. He does all of the drop-in youth center programming. It's open Tuesday to Saturday, and within that, we focus on skills building every day. We have something going on, such as baking, cooking, arts. We have a sensory room in there that's really become more and more popular. And he also sits on the Hinton Youth Advisory Council, which has 6 youth this year that are very actively engaged. And then we also operate the Hinton Family Center under the Child and Youth portfolio, which is located in the rec center, kind of behind the building by the spray park. So it's a family space. It's open 3 days a week for parents to come in, socialize, build that connection, meet some other local parents if they're new to the community. So some of our 2022 program highlights. So just touching on the Family Center again, we actually saw an over 200% increase in people attending the Family Center compared to 2021 as we came out of COVID. Parents are wanting more connection, they want to be there. We have kept a cap at 25 just because we only have one staff working at the center when it's open. And we want to be able to give the families the support and the attention that they deserve when they come. So our play and learn, that's in the family center. Our one-to-one caregiver support has connected with 1,289 families. So a lot of that is one-to-one support. We get referrals from Alberta Health Services, Children's Services, self-referrals. Sometimes our Mothers First groups want some extra additional support, so we come there. It's also the ages and stages. We get a lot of referrals from there. So it's a really active program, especially with the ongoing one-to-ones. So we've seen a lot of children, especially coming to us with some behavioral issues as we come out of COVID, and they're learning how to reintegrate with kids their own age from losing that really crucial piece from not being a school. So
On the youth center, it's great to see the increase of 200%, and if that were to continue even a little bit, are there any plans of adapting, like expanding the space, the people's room, etc.? Like, what if that continues to grow?
So, yeah, we have had those conversations. That was actually one of the first things I shared with Deb when she came on board. Because our Hidden Kids for Success program is also where for 2023 school year, 2023-2024 school year, we are already at 30 registrations, and that space can only hold 34. So that potentially puts families on a waiting list. Families are starting to choose our program versus Explore and Discover because of the Discovery Camp. So and with our staffing, our 4 staff that run our Hidden Kids for Success, help run the Discovery Camp. So families are choosing Hidden Kids for Success because their children have already developed that relationship with those adults, which was our original goal. So it's great that parents are seeing that. But again, on the flip side, we only now have so much space for our Hidden Kids for Success program, as well as, yes, for our youth center. So to answer your question, that is on our radar. We do have some potential ideas for space, because we are going to outgrow our space, and quite honestly, we could easily outgrow our family center space. It's just because we are capping and managing that space a bit differently with 25 people in that space. Same with our Discovery Camp. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
right, so moving on, like Karen had said, Hidden Kids for Success. We have over 60 families right now that are enrolled accessing any one of our tuition plans. We offer 3 different plans, full-time, part-time, and drop-in. So we can really meet the needs of everybody in the community. And that's been really popular, but most of the families are enrolled in the full-time plan. And like Karen said, we have 30 families enrolled for fall, and its registration's been open for 2 weeks. So we are anticipating a bit of a wait list this year. And with that, like I mentioned, we've increased the hours for the Hidden Kids for Success coordinator just because we have to manage 34 kids versus sometimes the 12 or 15 that we had during COVID. So then under that, with children with Discovery Camp, it was kind of the talk of the town last summer, I'm not gonna lie. So we had 328 children in July and August attend in 2022 compared to 81 in 2021. So we were able to raise over $15,000 in donations and sponsorships, which allowed us to take some pretty amazing field trips, both in our backyard as well as the surrounding areas. So we're taking some of those highlighted field trips from last year that the kids really raved about, and we're bringing them back this year, and then we're mixing some things up. So it's not going to be the same Discovery Camp as last year, but we're keeping a lot of the fan favorites. And so registration for that opens in May, and we already have 40 families that are pre-registered. So we know that registration is going to go quickly. Yes, sir.
Just curious, with such a drastic increase in kiddos from the previous year, 81 to 328, how did you accommodate it? Like, was it just an increase in personnel, or
That there was, we hired more leaders, so we had 5 leaders and the supervisor last year.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we were in COVID, so we held it in the Hinton Kids space, so we were capped at 34. So we ran it with 4 staff that year. And this year we are anticipating the same numbers, so we are actually hiring an additional, like a 6th staff. Just for licensing ratios, safety, all the reasons.
One advantage too of, we've actually received quite a few great applicants this year. If they have their level 1, they receive a top up in addition to the wage. And so sometimes when you come out of a year that brings you good revenue, you can kind of anticipate being able to staff one more, but if we can kind of gauge that, right? We don't have to, there's no guarantees. We put in for, 3 discovery camp, but we have our Canada Summer Job Grants that covers the expenses too.
And the top of wages covered through a grant with the government of Alberta, just because we're a licensed program. So, and it's based on what level you have, so we always encourage our staff to continue to get your higher levels because you get more of a top up, and it's actually pretty lucrative when you get your level 3. So the Hinton Youth Center has been busy this year. We have added 3 new programs already in 2023. Last year we had 3,956 youth attend the center, which is pretty incredible. They are telling us that they wish we were there more often, that we were open, 7 days a week. So, someday down the road, maybe that'll be a reality, but for right now, we're open the 5 days. We've started monthly field trips for the youth. So we've done things such as fishing trips, some canoeing. We've done a lot of outdoorsy things with them. We're planning again for this summer. We put in a few grants so that we can provide more of those field trips, the pro-social activities to keep the youth positively engaged, so they have somewhere to go during the day, because when school's out, that's when they get bored. The other really exciting thing for the youth center this year is its 20th anniversary. So that's in October. We are going to be starting planning the celebrations in May. So we hope to see you guys all there, because I think that's a really awesome thing to celebrate that it's been here for 20 years. And then lastly, the Hinton Youth Advisory Council, this is its 4th year. We did award 1 bursary last year to Yohan Torres. And he did mention that he wants to come back under the municipal intern partnership. So hopefully we see him back, because he was pretty remarkable young man. And then we have 5 returning counselors this year. So yes, Councilor McGee.
Sorry, I apologize. Going back up to the youth, the visits. I am assuming, although it'd be really awesome if I was wrong, that the 3,956. My assumption is that counts multiple visits by the same, like that's not unique visits, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's multiple.
So out of curiosity, do you have a stat on how many unique visitors to the youth center there are? Like,
We're averaging about 17 unique each month.
okay,
Each day.
okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
each day.
All right. And then moving to our 2 last service areas. First one being administration. So Brooke Alden at the front desk there. So she supports FCSS management, our coordinators, and of course administration for the transportation services. And then you'll see our online or our printable community resource directory there. So that is the 2023 version. And so we actually did that all in-house this year. So we used to get Joe Brocker to do it. And so we were able to do it all in-house, save some costs. And as well as our service guide, that is also new this year. And Brooke, part of her within that she put in 2020 was to do some focus on a little bit more marketing and kind of just bring some FCSS material out to the public. We couldn't do that during COVID. So then we wanted to create a few things that we could drop off at agencies, nonprofit groups. I know the food bank took about 20 community resource directories, stuff like that, to just get us out there. the community resource directory is. Brooke pretty much does it. Like, it's done for 2023. At the end of December, and then we're starting in early spring to update it for 2024. So it does take time to contact people for them to get back. The advantage of having our community resources directory within FCSS is a lot of those contacts we can make and connect with through the registration information fair, the volunteer group, all of those, we kind of just make referrals. It's nice to have at our fingertips. And then the transportation department, so that includes public transit system, which of course operates Monday to Saturday, Monday to Friday from 8 to 8, and then Saturday 8 to 6. We just hired one casual that's actually not on here. Her name is Darlene Cooper, and her staffing announcement hasn't went out today. It should be out by the end of this week. And then, of course, our Freedom Express service, which is now 3 full days, and we have probably received at least, oh my gosh, I put this in here, yeah, like 4 new Freedom Express applications a month. So it is the days are fully booking, which is great to see. And so we have supported, actually, it's a few of the newest clients have been from the women's shelter, and individuals from the trailer park there behind OK Tire that were actually like completely isolated. A lot of those individuals don't have family in the community, don't have access. They can ride transit, but aren't comfortable riding transit because of their cognitive or mobility impairment. So they've really been accessing and utilizing our Freedom Express, and they're all kind of have relationships within their area there, and so it's like word of mouth gets out. So we went from 1 to supporting 6 or 7 in that area, which is nice. Those are the individuals that we're really wanting to reach and provide service for.
Can I ask a question? Can you just identify that the Freedom Express is funded by the provincial FCSS grant, but the First Transit is not, correct?
No, none of our transportation is funded by, yeah. Okay, and then the program highlights under administration. So just wanted to give a bit of a comparative from last year, 2021 to 2022. We had 52 nonprofits booked for the registration and information fair in 2022 and 38 in 2021. So we hope to have that slowly increase. Again, there's only so much space in the Hinton Center, but it was a pretty great turnout. We also partner with Hinton Employment Learning Place, and they offer burgers and that outside the door there for the public during the evening.
Yes, if I may, being as how there is limited space there, if we had more space, did it in a different venue, do you feel more would participate in it, or are we pretty much maxed out at the 52?
There's probably other spaces that we could look at. We could probably do a little bit of rearranging too. We probably have at least about 10 more tables, and then we would be maxed out. But I think if the need was there, we would look at other spaces, right? I know there's gymnasiums that we could turn to as well, or the Hinton Training Center. That gymnasium is pretty large. Those are other spaces that we could definitely look at and utilize. Yeah. We also continue to support Hinton Ability Hinton Abilities Network Society, and so they're in a little bit of a transition period. They'll be having their AGM right away, and we're hoping that we can support them as they go through this transition of seeing if the executive director plans to stay, and we want to make sure that roles are reviewed and are clear, and so everyone is clear on their responsibilities. Sometimes it's tough for nonprofits to get going when there's just sometimes a strong leader in the mix. So we're gently working with that group to help them navigate, because what we'd like to see is to get to really focus on that disability housing piece. Yeah. The respite care, again, I've been leading that meeting. We actually have some really good discussions. We will be planning our respite care meet and greet here for the spring. And then I also submitted an EOI grant application for a respite care worker position. So hopefully in the next 3 months, we'll hear if our EOI gets approved. And then if our EOI gets approved, then we will be able to specifically submit what we want within that position, and fingers crossed, hopefully we get it, because it's a respite care.
What's an EOI?
Yeah. An expression of interest. Okay. Yeah, so they had a phase 1 through, it was actually some grants, potential grants through the United Way, and they had a phase 1, and they focused a bit more on urban areas. And then we were invited to resubmit our EOI, because I submitted for the phase 1. And then we were re-invited to submit our EOI application for phase 2, in hopes that they shoot some funding down to some rural areas. So. And I already spoke to the community resource directory. Our public transit, our revenue. So we did have some COVID impacts in 2020 and the start of 2021 in the transportation area. But then as we moved from 2022 to from 21 to 2022, our revenue definitely increased. And as I stated below, our ridership is still increasing from when I made this note too.
Thank you, sir. Not a question, but a comment. I ride the bus or public transit, not a lot, but I take it. And I just have to just say what a wonderful staff you have. The drivers are so dedicated, love their jobs, so polite to the people who get on the bus. It's just something we are really blessed to have.
Yeah, they actually are a great dedicated group. I will share, we sometimes get calls of, is the bus here? It's like, when's the bus coming? Again, it's on a fixed route, but when there's the day shift is from 7:30 to 2:00 PM in the afternoon, and then that's when they do shift exchange. And so sometimes the bus is a little bit later because they're doing shift exchange. In addition to, we've actually gone busier on the public transit system. So from 2 to 5 is like a super busy hour right now. And so just if you're hearing out in the community, if somebody's like, the bus didn't show up, like like very often, like if I receive a call, I always ask like, what time were they there? Because if you look on the transit map, there's notes of the time of when the bus will be there, but then there's also some stops that like don't have an exact time because it depends on the timing of, like, say, shift exchange, busyness. So we always say that like the drivers never ever leave the stop early. So if you say, say for example at the mall pickup is on the half of the hour, so 1:30, let's say. And then somebody's waiting at the green square. Takes about 7 minutes to get from the mall to the green square shelter. So we always say be there at just after, say, 1:30, you won't miss it. So just like things like that, we are having a lot of actually the newcomers moving into the community are starting to use our public transit system for multiple reasons. They only have one vehicle, and it's just cheaper. And so as they're starting to learn the system, that's the things that we like to share with them. Ideally, what we like to have is if the transit driver knows that it's a new passenger, we always, offer, like, if you're having a little bit of trouble with transit system, they can come to the office and I can sit down with them and go over the transit map and the route that has happened in the past, or I jump on transit with them and then we go through the route. We go through the route together.
Go ahead.
So how often do you have the discussion on should we run on Sunday? I've talked to people who work on Sunday or would like to work on Sunday, but the bus is their only transportation, so they miss that shift. I've talked to business owners who they can't hire people who can't get to work on Sunday. So how often does that come up in conversation?
Yeah, it's came up a couple times. Like, I've been in this role managing transportation since April 2020, and so it's came up a couple times. What's more of a need is the length, the timing of transportation of the public transit system. So it starts at 8 AM and ends at 8 PM. 8 PM is actually, it's fine, but the 8 AM, many people have to get to work before 8. So many people aren't using our transit system because they have to get to work at 8, right? So that is a barrier. So I would say that is more of a need than the Sunday.
Thank you.
I have a question. So, with the change in revenue like that, I don't know, what's that, $38,000, something like that. So does that, and the question for administration, I guess, how is that dealt with? Does that revenue flow to FCSS or does that come to offset the cost of operating the transportation system?
So it offsets the expenses of the transportation area.
So that flows back to the town,
Yeah.
is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have 2 transportation questions. What's the taxpayer subsidy per ride?
So I calculated that when I did my business case for the alternative transportation, it's about around $15.
The taxpayer pays $15 per ride.
Subsidizes it, yeah. Because a ride for transportation is $3. So we are highly subsidized. It's one of the most subsidized transit systems.
Wouldn't it be cheaper to pay for somebody to have a cab?
I think the challenge of that is many, like, you have moms coming on the transit system with strollers. Multiple kids in a stroller. You have many youth that are riding transit. They on the bike racks. They'll put their bikes on the bike rack. I think there's something to be said about social connection on a transit bus.
Okay. The next question is, we got an email within the last week that says something about transit electrification. So I'm still confused, like, why do we need to spend $33,000 to determine whether to go electric on 2 vehicles in our transit system? When, like, private citizens or commercial bus companies seem to be able to make those decisions on their own. Why are our decisions so much more complicated that we have to spend that kind of money?
So that money we're not spending. Through the company and Fortis are actually paying for that. I think why we chose to sign up for this, because they're actually looking at our routes. And they're looking at the routes and looking at the demand. So what we thought is that's free information for us that we can take and potentially change our transit system at the cost of Fortis. So that was our reason. Did you want to add?
Just that it's a federal grant 80%, and Fortis is kicking in the 20.
Yeah.
That's correct. And it's being done through a UMA, whatever that's called now. It's just a study that they've commissioned, and we were one of the few municipalities. There's 9 altogether that are signed up for that study. So the cost for us is only a little bit of administrative capacity in supplying the information they're looking for.
Thanks.
Okay, and lastly, Freedom Express. So like I was saying before, the service has had an increase in appointments. We also work closely with Alcohol Health Services. So they have recently been calling us to pick up clients that just need a ride back to their house. So they've been transitioned out of the hospital and just need a ride, don't have a family member. It's maybe just easier for them to book a ride. As long as the individual can ride without a carry, the Freedom Express driver, transportation driver still supports if the individual needs help onto the bus with their walker and that kind of stuff. But it's just kind of a nice partnership and easy for the individual for simplicity to just get home. So we've been taking actually a few more of those appointments. And then, of course, our partnership with Hinton Continuing Care and Pine Valley Lodge for outings. We partnered with Pine Valley Lodge and Continuing Care for the Seniors Lake Tour. That was actually a really, really great event. Lots of seniors came out. So we hope that'll be an annual thing. And like I was saying before, in December, yeah, we had about 4 new applications, and that's actually continued into 2023. And then we also work with the Resident Care Foundation with their silver tea every year, and the Freedom Express picks up continuing care residents and brings them down to the Legion. And yeah, we're doing that again this year. And so before we go into details with 2022, just to some more numbers. So basically what I just shared, what this staffing chart kind of encapsulates all of the programs that we currently offer. So just if you're feeling like, well, I'm not really sure what, this little chart kind of gives you a good picture of everything we do. If you actually look on the far right side, we are also the Emergency Social Services Reception Center. So my role is the ESS manager, and then our staff in our department play different roles should there be a disaster. So if the EOC has to activate, and then they call upon the ESS team to set up a reception center. If we need some transportation, which had happened 2 summers ago, we activated the EOC, we went to the fire hall, we needed transportation to take some seniors from continuing care because the air conditioning stopped working. So then one of the transportation drivers is actually plays a transportation role in the ESS team. And so we were able to do that.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick question. Who takes care of the homeless people in the event of, severe cold weather or extreme heat? Does that fall on community services?
Yeah, so we play a little bit of a role. So again, FCSS is prevention. So when the intervention piece, which you're just asking me the question of who intervenes when they're needing support right then and there and they're homeless. So that's Hinton Employment Learning Place. I'm going to speak to that a little bit in the initiatives, 2023 initiatives, because myself and Dina Fuller from Hinton Employment Learning Place created a letter to send out to some agencies to start a homelessness action group for 2023. Yeah, I'll speak to a little bit of that in a few slides.
So if we had a bad forest fire coming in, we had to evacuate the town, would this emergency social services center, would that have a role in that? And what would that role be?
Yep, so it would depend on obviously what direction the wind's blowing. So if there was a fire, and let's say there was a fire in Jasper, but on the west side. Jasper residents would potentially evacuate east. Then the Hinton ESS team would most likely set up a reception center for, so I think the advantage of FCSS is generally playing the ESS role in communities, like Jasper FCSS did last summer, is because we're closely connected to many agencies and closely connected to the supports that are needed when something like that happens.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So 2022 numbers, we just wanted to provide you a few more numbers through our programs. So our neighborhood block party, so we supported 8 neighborhoods. We had 240 individuals access our neighborhood block party program. So we get $2,000 every year to run our neighborhood block party, and it was actually all utilized in 2022, which was great. Our community volunteer income tax program, in 2022, we had 10 volunteers. We did 382 income tax, and it's actually quite remarkable the amount of money that goes back into the community. So when this is a perfect example of when people think, okay, like how do we play a role in poverty? How do we play a role in homelessness? So many of our clients that access our community volunteer income tax program are individuals that are making like zero money or on age. Many of the individuals, like our cap is 35,000 to access the program for a single household, 45 for most don't even come close to that. The average is 11,000 a year. So again, when we're giving that money back to those individuals, that's playing a role in how they are literally living in this community. So that's just kind of like a indirect link to the programs that we offer that support at a prevention level.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. When you say an average of 11,000, are you talking individual or maybe family?
It depends. Like a family could be a single mom with 3 kids.
On
So it could-
11,000?
Yeah, it's actually quite shocking. We actually have some individuals that have no income.
Great program, and to hear that the amount of money people who are accessing the program, it to help 382 people is great. How many people are you turning away potentially based on the caps of 35 and 45? And are there any other conditions based on the amount of children you have? And I say this because let's say you make 38,000, but you have 4 kids and you're a single parent. That's like,
Oh, yeah.
you're still struggling hardcore, right? So any info on who we're turning away?
Yeah, so like we would never turn away that scenario. The ones that we would have to turn away are like the complex tax returns that like have say own a business or are in like the 55,000 tax rate. Like we're pretty flexible. It's very rare that we turn away. Yeah, and I mean, the ideal thing is we have a great solid group of volunteers. Out of the 10 volunteers that we had in 2022, like 8 of them were returning, and a couple of them have accounting background. So they're pretty solid volunteers that are able to take on those returns when necessary. Yeah.
That's great to hear. Thanks.
Yeah. And our regional elder abuse prevention. So we had 23 referrals regional. and 11 in Hinton, 4 in Yellowhead County, 8 in Edson, 2 out of region, and then 5, of course, are ongoing rolling into 2023. So sometimes with elder abuse cases, we can easily resolve it. Sometimes that's not the case, and we're constantly supporting.
So, and you'd mentioned, Karen, about the move to going regional. I think you talked about the, what is it, not right presentations in Edson and Yellowhead County. How much of what you're doing is happening outside of Hinton and other communities and in Yellowhead County?
Like what we're doing, or like what the individual is doing, or
The programming, how much of the programming is being consumed by non-Hinton people?
I just want to make sure I'm understanding your question. So you basically are just asking me how much work this individual is doing that is outside of Hinton.
Sure, well, I mean, I look at elder abuse, so, I mean, quick math says half's from Hinton, half's from outside of Hinton. Is that normal for programs that you're providing through FCSS?
So part of this position, so that we could, so again, in our
And
research.
I'm talking generally programs that you offer. Is this the only one that's sort of outside of and regional in nature?
Yeah. And so with the regional elder abuse, so the Hinton elder abuse work is in the family life portfolio. The regional elder abuse work, because the individual works 35 hours a week. She can work up to 40 hours a week. When she does the regional work in Yellowhead and Edson. Those are we invoice Edson and Yellowhead County, and they get invoiced for that work.
Right.
Yeah, so the regional work that happens in Yellowhead County and Edson is not paid by Hinton tax dollars.
Yeah, that's
Did
right.
that answer?
Yeah, thanks.
That's a good question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So years ago, the Alberta government used to fund our elder abuse coordinator. And that stopped.
Yeah.
Did it start up again? Or is there?
So, okay, so good question. And I'll speak to this, but I can speak to it now. So we have applied for a grant, a provincial grant. So yes, so when the elder abuse prevention work started at a provincial level, it was a pilot project back in I want to say 2015. And so it was a 3-year pilot project. That's when Charlene Sitar was hired on to fill the regional elder abuse prevention coordinator position. After that 3 years was done, the province decided that they didn't want to fund that project anymore. And so then that's when the town, Yellowhead County and Edson all kind of pitched in to fill that regional position. When we did a restructure, and when we were kind of just thinking it through and stuff, that's when we did the restructure and then put the elder abuse prevention work under the family life portfolio. That because we saw the need, the abuse prevention in the community, and we didn't want to have to rely on provincial funding. The impact of that is we had to drop community dinners from the family life position. And then we picked up the elder abuse because we saw that as a higher priority and need in the community. So then the other answer to your question, so the province still does provide some funding. So the advantage also of keeping our elder abuse prevention program running since 2012, we have had the opportunity to apply for provincial funds. And so currently right now we have a part-time position, the regional elder abuse prevention navigator, which is Charlene Sitar. She works 10 hours a week with a mentorship. Does some mentorship in the region for elder abuse prevention. Also plays a provincial advocacy role, because when we saw that provincial advocacy part super important to remind them of all of the work that's been done or is being done at a rural level, as well as to remind them that this can't be on the backs of municipalities. And then we also get to share with them as we're taking on all the elder abuse prevention cases. We are sharing with them what we're seeing when we're taking on this case management work, the challenges. Like, let's say if an individual doesn't have a power of attorney, how do you enact the power of an attorney when this individual has no family, but has financial abuse against them by someone in the community that they don't even know. So it gets pretty complicated, but those are the things that we can then bring up at a provincial level and advocate for these individuals that don't have that community support.
I look forward to hearing her speak on Thursday.
Okay.
Yes.
It'll be Trish,
Yeah.
but yes, she said that you were coming. Yes, she's looking forward to it. Okay, and then I'll hand it over to Tori for the numbers.
Okay, so for the children and youth numbers, we provided services to 1,867 families, 390 school-aged children and 3,956 teens. For one-to-one referrals for the families, that 1,867 is unique numbers. We are averaging about 2 referrals each month from Children's Services. We're working with them a little bit more because we know that there's more families that we could obviously work with, but they have some things on their end to work out. So we do anticipate that number to increase this year as they learn about our programs. The Hinton Family Center serves over 1,626 caregivers and children 0 to 6 from January to December. So the Family Center is only for children 0 to 6, just because that's the age that kids aren't in school. So we can open during the day. It's morning, so it's not nap time. So we get a lot of attendance that way. And then Discovery Camp, like I mentioned last year, we received over $15,000 in grants and donations. So that was able to offset trip costs for 164 families. And we also completely subsidized a family that was actually in the shelter for a week of camp. So we're really grateful to be getting that kind of donations and sponsorships from the community to do that.
Okay, so 2023 initiatives, we just wanted to share some work that we are starting in 2023, and this kind of ties in with it ties in with our strat plan and our business plan. In our business plan, you'll see that we have 13 new programs. I didn't put them all on here. Below are just a few, but we built our business plan following the strat plan and of course the needs that we've identified coming out of 2022. So again, I spoke a little bit to the homelessness project. So that will be the first meeting will be happening the 3rd week of April. And so that's when the homelessness project action group will start their work. There was a homeless housing survey done in 2018. And so we're going to utilize some of that information. A housing survey is being actually done right now. We actually are working with health because what we're doing is we're actually completing that housing survey with the clients when we finish their income tax return, which is quite perfect because those are the individuals that really have the housing challenges, and it's quite interesting. Some of the answers, basically what many of them don't have a house, many of them don't have the financial income to stay in one spot at a time. It's once the individual is open, because some of the questions in that housing survey is quite it really makes the individual think about their own situation. So we always try and do it after the income tax return rather than before, so that they can have confide in us if needed. There's been some individuals that have led to referrals. There's been some individuals that have led into actually a couple other abuse prevention referrals as well. So yeah, so looking forward to that. We were hoping to have that come a bit earlier in 2023, but it'll get started there, and we're excited. The little icon that has the money in the car in the house, that is the protect your your assets project, our New Horizons grant, we received just over 21,000. In partnership with the RCMP and Victim Services. And so we actually have 6 seniors that have requested that they want to be part of the working group. And so what that project is we are creating a education sessions from the information that seniors are sharing with us and what they've experienced. So we have a handful of seniors that are on that working group that have experienced fraud. And then, of course, working with the staff sergeant and Natasha from Victim Services in delivering that. Hawaiian Luau, that has already happened. That happened at the second week of February, and that was a really, really, really great event. It was actually wonderful to have everyone out, and you can tell people just left the dance wanting more. We had over 200. We had about over 220 people come out to that event. Another one with the people holding the boxes, that's of course our volunteer recruitment fair. Again, that was gonna just toot Councillor Hawes's horn here. That was actually his idea that came out of our 2022 annual presentation, identifying the gap that many nonprofit groups are looking for volunteers, and which they in fact are and still are. And so on April 17th, we will be having a fair. So Lisa Brett, our community connections coordinator, has been planning that during the same week of our National Volunteer Week. That will be at the PATH building, and we have about 12 groups that have registered for that event, and we're hoping that we hope to make it annual, and it just builds each year. Small icon on the right there is our Hinton Rural Renewal Stream. That has been a very rewarding and lots of learning happening in with that project. Lots of learning for me. I was not familiar with labor, immigration much, but it's currently we have endorsed over 15 employers in the community, and over 12 individuals that were already employed with these now endorsed employers, or are a couple have been from the Philippines, from India, Edmonton. It's quite interesting having conversations with them. Also on that note, we have a settlement worker in our office on full Tuesdays. That's in partnership actually with Jasper Costs, which has actually been great because we've had some individuals, newcomers in Hinton from Ukraine, through the rural renewal stream of just like looking for a bit more specific support for a settlement plan, and the settlement worker has been able to support them. Lastly, before I hand it over to Tori, our healthy relationships with adult children is another project under our Family Life portfolio, and we are actually currently running those sessions. This idea came from our elder abuse prevention. A lot of when we're doing the case management work, many of what is happening is just the conflicts happening between adult children and their parents. And so the idea was like, let's see if we can do some education sessions on healthy relationships with their adult children. We currently have 8 participants, all 8 at various situations in their lives. For example, their 35-year-old child is still living with them, rent-free, addictions. I've sat in on actually all three sessions, and it's quite interesting. You never know what's going on in individuals' life, and these are participants that are low income, no education. These participants some are highly professional individuals in the community that are just having some challenges in their life. So it's actually been a really, really great group. And
So the school bus was summer, that's symbolic of our discovery camp for the summer, so it operates all day from 7:45 to 5:30 for children in kindergarten up to age 12. So we operate it through our Hinty Kids for Success Government of Alberta license, so we can still offer subsidy option for families, so it makes it a lot more accessible for families. And then we have the ability to vary our license, so we can actually accept 50 kids each year. The license variance is actually based on space, so if we had a bigger space, we could accept more kids, but we're working with some space confines this year. And then the other one we've started is the LGBTQ Two Spirit Plus group. This was initially started to be offered once a month in partnership with the Hinton Youth Center, but we found very quickly that the youth were thriving for it and demanding it more often. So we've moved it to be bi-weekly. And we have heard in the community that youth are talking about it, that they wish it was offered more often because it's a safe space for them to express themselves, to be themselves, and to just feel accepted or to learn more about the community. If they're questioning, they're more than welcome to come and just hear, listen, engage. It's a judgment-free zone, so we've really found a need in the community for that we're really exploring, and ideally we'd love to expand the program, but for right now we're doing it bi-weekly.
Second last slide. So we always like to showcase our grants and our success in our grants. So we were able to, I feel me and Tori were having this conversation that like once you get approved for a grant application, it's like you have a goal of wanting to meet your goal or do more the next year. So we're always excited when grant opportunities come our way. And then when we were doing the calculations, we're like, we did better in 2022, 23 than we did in 2021, which is great. So of course, our grant applications, our grants, we utilize them to enhance our programs and just expand, right? Whether that's in partnership. So you'll see on the right hand there, that's all of our partnerships that we have through our grants. So for example, Bridges, through the Rural Mental Health Grant, our second year grant, and you'll watch a video there at the end. Janice at Bridges, she's also a mental health animator, and so we were able to give them just about $10,000 in 2022 for them to do more of some recreational programming. So we try to do partnerships like that. We also were able to give Hinton Employment Learning Place $11,000 because they also support us with the elder abuse case management work as well. That partnership was created because we work with the senior, but often the older adult is sometimes their clients. So that was kind of just a natural partnership. What else? A rural mental health project, like I was saying, we received in 2022 for the second year in a row. We received funds. We received just over $34,000 for On the Move for mental wellness. And I'll speak a little bit towards that grant at the end when we share just a video of the two animators of describing the project and the positive impacts it has had in the community. And I pretty much touched on all of the rest, but again, like we have some really great partnerships in the community, and we try to partner as much as we can, or sometimes, help write a grant application and we're not able to apply for it. We write a reference letter. We just like try to support each other as much as we can. Okay, and then looking ahead, we did this last year too, which is kind of nice. We try to capture like our main monthly events. Obviously, we're doing other detailed work aside from these, but these just kind of capture brings out kind of what some fun events that we're doing for the year. January Mother's First Group, which always is super popular, our vision board workshops, which we brought back in 2023 and were highly successful. I've actually, the participants were left wanting more. Our February annual family dance, our active parenting sessions, which is in partnership with our youth center and our FRN education caregiver bullying awareness. So also under the family life portfolio, you probably see through our news flashes like bullying awareness, like the Pink Shirt Day, Alzheimer's Awareness Month, all of that kind of stuff is under the family life portfolio too, just to raise education and awareness. Mental Health Week, those kind of smaller projects is also under the family life portfolio too. March, we really focus on our community volunteer income tax program. We spoke to the healthy relationships with your adult children, babysitter course. April, we do our Easter family events at our family center. Our volunteer recruitment fair is happening in April. May, we have our spring respite care meet and greet, which I spoke to. We have another go-go tour happening. We're planning a schools out for summer event. We haven't nailed down the details of that. We're more so hoping that is going to be in June. Trish is just contacting all the schools and speaking to the principals and kind of just gauging on what their thoughts are and what their needs are. And then for June, Seniors Week, which is it's not 6th to 12th, it's actually 5th to 11th. And then June is also our Elder Abuse Awareness Month and our FCSS Open House, which we're going to have on June 7th. Just wanted to roll back to the Seniors Week there. Through the STRAP plan, the priority number 2 for community services with where it says 2.3, the seniors remain in Hinton through a variety of transitional housing. Hinton FCSS was tasked with the 2.3.2 to engage local seniors on what their needs are now and in the future. And so what our plan is to roll out a survey for the seniors during Seniors Week through a variety of social media channels, of course, but also to have an event for the seniors to be able to do the survey then. We have over, 2,500 seniors that come out to that event. So that's where we're really gonna engage with them too then. And then I'll hand over the last 6 months before.
So in July, we have applied for our Kids Can Catch Fishing Day grant again. So last year was our first year of being in person. This year, we're doing the same thing at Kelly's bathtub. We had great attendance last year and we were able to open it up to the public as well for people that were coming. So we're excited to do that again this year. August is our last month of Discovery Camp. So that runs July and August. It's always crazy busy time around the office. So it's exciting though. September is our Reg and Info Fair. As we spoke to earlier, it's at the Hinton Center. It was full last year and I think we'll anticipate the same thing this year. In October, we do Learn to Ride Public Transit and Freedom Express. So Karen actually leads tours on the public transit Freedom Express for the people in Hinton that are either new or have never taken transit. So it helps them to become more familiar with it. We offer the Home Alone course, which is actually half booked up already for October. So it's a really popular course. So we're potentially looking at bringing it back a little bit more frequently, but.
What is that? Is that for kids? Or?
For children aged 9 to 12
Okay.
that have outgrown the out of school program, but parents want them to know who to call in case of emergency or what to do, or don't open the door to strangers.
Thank you.
It's quite a popular course.
We offered it to 15 kids in February and we still have a wait list for it. So it's a really popular course. And then as well, like I mentioned, the 20th anniversary of the youth center is in October. So stay tuned for more information on that. November is Family Abuse Prevention Month. So that's why you'll see all the buildings split up in purple. It's to raise awareness that family abuse is not just the traditional domestic violence that we might all be familiar with, that it takes many, many forms. And then we also offer a babysitter course. And then December, we do the seniors light tour and the tween light tours. So we're hoping to combine them this year and get that intergenerational knowledge sharing and just that experience for both ages.
also just wanted to add for 2023, we started tween events in 2022. Just because we saw that gap after, you know, they're not quite a teenager, but like want something to do, not really, sometimes not in sports or just needing some extras. So Jackie, our education caregiver coordinator, in partnership with James at the youth center, we have been planning tween events, which have been super popular. So we plan to carry that through in 2023.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Karen. I just want to circle back to slide 10. And I'm sorry for that. Slide 10 talked about putting a large focus on disability housing and respite care. When you talk about disability housing, do you mean a specific home where our disabled community can stay in the community instead of having to go to Edmonton or somewhere else? We're keeping them at home.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, that would be the goal. Again, we currently have a board through hands. So again, it can't just be the FCSS agenda of what we want, but that is the vision of the group. I think what right now is there's so much happening, but there was a house that was offered to the families with children with disabilities in the community. Those families actually chose not to take it. Scope through Edson actually offered that they would support. At that time, those families just weren't ready. Yeah, so to answer your initial question, yes, that would be the goal. It's not a simple process, and it's one thing when parents are like, I want to put my child in a group home. It's another thing when a house becomes available, and because you need those numbers, you need a certain amount of numbers of individuals in a home for funding, so that it can be run. And they won't give you that funding unless it's with a longer standing organization. So we did. I actually worked quite closely with Scope in Edson, and we had it lined up. It was just at the mercy of the families if they're ready. And some of them just weren't there yet, right? It's one of those things that you have to have everything in place. And everyone wasn't on the same page at that time. Yeah.
Thank you.
What do we need as far as group homes? Are we talking disabilities like children with cognitive disabilities or children with physical disabilities? And is mixing them a good idea? So do you need two separate homes, one for each type of child, or what are you talking about?
No, so that it depends. Generally, group homes, if you have children, obviously the age is under 18, and you can have a mix of physical and cognitive disability. Usually through the intake process, it's like, I guess, in any group home, you would maybe, depending on rooms, you would position kids depending on their disability, even personality, right? It's not even just disability independent. Sometimes it's like you put people, in certain positions based on personality types. And I know this because I worked in Edson at Scope. And so in that situation, there's a variety of individuals with physical and cognitive disability. They all were together. It was 24 hours ran, and there was 5 of them. And then they also did overnight, so families could drop off their child there just for the weekend. Yeah, so and then you also have group homes that are adult. Big Man offers that service, but it's more so like on an individual basis, and McMahon workers go in and check, but it depends on the individual and the individual needs too.
Thanks.
Does that answer your question? Okay, so I wanted to share, so in one of our projects through the Rural Mental Health, we created a community video, and a videographer pulled it all together, interviewed a bunch of agencies. I was hoping to be able to showcase that video Today, he actually thought that I was presenting it on Thursday, and so he promised me he'd have it ready on Thursday. That's not the case. So when I get it ready, I'm gonna share it, with council before it gets shared with the community, because it's actually a pretty big deal. But what I wanted to do, I was just like, well, I feel like I could still share. So part of the reporting requirements for our rural mental health projects every year is we have to create a video, the animators do. And so Charlene Sitar is in this video, as well as Janice Baxter, and so they're both animators, and so what we have to do is share the, what the impact has been on the community, with those grant funds. So this is about a 3-minute clip, and then we share this video to the provincial funders. So I just thought it'd be nice. It captures the partnership that we have with Bridges, as well as the impact, the project, on the move for wellness. And that project was, we actually, those funds bought transportation passes, passes to the recreation center, passes to the bowling alley, recreation center, so that was like swimming, skating, and so we kind of managed it similar to our community volunteer income tax program for lower income, and it's actually been pretty great. People utilizing those passes. We had actually a couple older gentlemen coming and asking for the passes because they essentially can't afford to go to the rec center every day. Or say they're wanting to, get into a routine, but it's hard to get into a routine when they can only afford to go swimming once a week. So anyway, so that's the project, and here's the clip of the two animators sharing the impact of the project. Have you seen this already, Trevor?
You see the other one? See the other one, we got-
Sorry, too much.
We have bills to pay, man. We have bills to pay.
Expensive whiteness.
Well,
Whatever.
That's all I had for the presentation.
I'm sorry.
This or either that, I don't know what you-
I think the speaker is gonna comment on some of the big TV. Are you still on?
What's your computer? Are you? No, it's red.
It's on Jen's.
You ever seen a minor collection of individuals?
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of big deal. We can.